dear President of IATA Annual General Meeting, dear Secretary General, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm very honored to be part of your event today, especially as I hear this is a record turnout. I really feel that transport in general, and aviation in particular, is at an important crossroads today. This makes regulators and industry talking together, as we are doing today, more important than ever. I don't think I need to tell you the different pressures that your sector is under. We saw a lot of them in the video. You know all about them. And of course, they need to be addressed. Emissions, increased capacity, and the need to adopt to new technologies while keeping safety and security at its highest level. We know that both decarbonization and digitalization will disrupt traditional aviation. New technologies are revolutionizing air traffic management, the design of the future aircrafts, and make more automation viable, for example, for drones. This will bring aviation closer to other modes, for which mobility as a service is fast becoming a reality, energizing even more the drive towards multimodal solutions. In the European Union, we follow two guiding lights when tackling these challenges. A vision of a transport union that puts people at its center and prioritizes decarbonization, digitalization, innovation, and investment as key instruments for improved connectivity, efficiency, and drive towards Vision Zero regarding the negative externalities. Our aviation strategy, launched in 2015, is the second most important element for the aviation industry. This provides certainty to the industry itself in terms of the direction we are heading and was developed together with you. I will not pretend that the aviation strategy has solved all of the sector's problems in the EU, but we have delivered as promised on some key components of regulatory framework. Allow me to recall some of them. We have completed revised the EU Aviation Safety Agency's basic regulation. The new rules are fit for the future and provide certainty, not only for commercial, but also for the general aviation and remotely piloted aircrafts and drones. We have demonstrated how Europe can make a difference at global level in the fight against climate change by pushing for CORSIA with all incredible partners. As I'm sure you agree, the global agreement on carbon neutral growth from 2020 is a historic one. We have strengthened our links with the non-EU countries with comprehensive aviation agreements with Qatar, Tunisia, Armenia, and Ukraine, ready to sign. We have also signed a safety agreement with China, as well as BASA agreement just a few weeks ago. Negotiations with the ASEAN region and Japan are nearing completion, and we are continuing negotiating with Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Oman. In the EU, we also continue to reap the benefits of existing agreements with the US, Canada, Switzerland, Israel, Jordan, Georgia, Morocco, and Moldova. They have meant an additional 500 direct flights, strengthening Europe's connectivity with the world. At the same time, fares have come down significantly, for example, by 230 euros per trip to the US. And we have adopted new rules allowing EU airlines to compete on a level playing field with third country carriers. I have always spoken out in favor of open markets and increased links with our partners. But the rules must be clear to everyone. So, let me say a couple of words now on capacity. because I do believe there is no the time to put out our feet up. Since we designed the aviation strategy, air traffic has risen by 20%. The result is congestion in our skies and increased delays on the ground at airports. This came to a head in Europe last summer, and we are expecting another difficult summer this year. Finding solutions for the capacity crunch is now urgent. We need more infrastructure investments at national level. Meanwhile, at EU level, we are looking into how to make our airport charges, slot allocation, and broader internal market rules more efficient for the 3 Cs: greater capacity, competitiveness, and connectivity. We are also putting a spotlight on air traffic management. We recently agreed on targets for the performance of air navigation services over the next 5 years. I see this as a key milestone in addressing delays, curbing aviation CO2 emissions, and containing costs for passengers while ensuring the highest level of safety. Looking further into the future, we also ask Vice Persons Group for their views on how best to offer additional ATM capacity in a flexible, scalable, and sustainable manner, while building a more resilient ATM system and simultaneously ensuring safety and security. They had their work cut out. Their advice, unveiled in April, has seen a lot of reactions from the stakeholders. I value the exchange that we are now having, and I certainly hope to see stakeholders subscribing to the measures proposed by the Vice Persons Group. This would send a clear signal to the incoming European Parliament and Commission on implementing them as soon as possible. Time is of the essence, as we all know. The careful listeners among you will have noticed that sustainability was right up there in the mandate for the Vice Persons Group alongside capacity. Environmental considerations really are key. I could stand here all day and talk about negative externalities of transport in general and the impact of emission on our climate and therefore our planet. Don't worry, I won't do that, but please do allow me to mention just a few of the important key facts. We all know that aviation emissions are rising rapidly. Today, CO2 emissions from air transport are almost twice as high as they were in the 1990s. In a few days, we will publish the results of a study into the negative externalities of transport in Europe, which amounts to 1 trillion euros per year. That's 7% of the EU's GDP. Those costs include environmental damage, accidents, and infrastructure. The study finds that environmental costs, such as climate change, air pollution, and noise, represent almost 100% of all costs for aviation, with these costs amounting to 33 billion for the 33 EU airports covered by the study. The price paid by those traveling by plane covers roughly the infrastructure costs, but not the environmental costs. So we do need to ask ourselves, how do we plan to address that? We cannot continue to generate such a high cost from aviation or indeed any other transport mode. We need to turn things around, and we need to do it quickly. We owe this to our planet, to ourselves, and of course, to the future generations. And the good message is that we can do it. We know how to do it. The recent European Aviation Environmental Report indicated relative environmental performance improvements, for instance, in noise and fuel consumption per passenger. But aviation's overall negative impacts on climate, noise, and air quality continues to climb as air traffic volumes soar. This affects both health and quality of life. Alongside our focus on ATM, the EU's toolkit for addressing emissions include R&D and innovation, and alternative fuels. Our single European sky policy aims to triple capacity, halve ATM costs, and reduce environmental impacts by 10%. Market-based measures can also play a role in capping and reducing CO2 emissions from aviation. New aircraft noise standards came into force in 2018, and new airplane CO2 and engine particulate matter standards will follow in 2020. We also have NOx emission standards in place. And of course, we have signed up to CORSIA. It goes without saying that aviation emissions are a global problem, and that only a global solution, in this case negotiated by ICAO, can have a real impact. All of the above is bringing aviation closer to the efforts of all other transport modes, focusing on vehicles, alternative fuels and alternative infrastructure, better organization of transport, and of course, behavior of consumers. However, at the end, I simply cannot finish today's presentation without mentioning remotely piloted aircraft and drones, the youngest member of the aviation family, and for many of you, often also a big problem. We delivered EU-wide regulatory framework. We delivered implementing rules just a couple of days ago, and we continue to work on this subject, especially on safety and security systems that will allow this new emerging kid on the block to fully be integrated in the aviation architecture and aviation business. But I do believe, and I hope you agree with me, that also this area needs to be addressed globally, standards, safety, and security issues. So I'm happy that ICAO picked up this topic as well, and we will continue to join forces on a global scale in order to address the challenges of this emerging new field. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting time for transport. Digitalization and big data are revolutionizing travel. Combined with innovation and determination, I'm convinced that they will also help us to increase capacity and make aviation more sustainable, and allowing it to play in the fourth industrial revolution equally important role as it has played so far. At the end, let me just invite you one more time for further cooperation, close cooperation between regulators and the industry, and the engagement on the level of the entire, not only aviation, but transport ecosystem, because more and more customers are asking for integrated services, for multimodal services, for simple point-to-point seamless service. And the only way we can achieve that is through collaboration and cooperation. I continue with my full commitment to discussing these issues with all of you and trying to define solutions together with multilateral structures, such as ICAO, so that we can maintain global standards, ensure maximum safety for passengers, and take aviation towards a greener and prosperous future. Let me mention one more time, let's never forget, whatever we do, no matter where we do it, no matter in which part of the ecosystem we do it for people. Not for planes, not for any kind of technology, but for people. And keeping that in mind, I think we can be inspired for a very prosperous, also aviation future. Thank you very much.